Among all the stunning women dreaming of the crown, draped in silk and gold, nobody imagined the rich king would choose the poor girl they treated like trash. How did he find her in a village full of chiefs' daughters? Why would he risk everything for an orphan with nothing? This is the story of how kindness became a crown and how love refused to bow to pride. The day King Darin returned to Awea village, the sky hung gray and heavy, as if mourning with him. His convoy of black cars rolled slowly through the dusty roads, and people fell to their knees as he passed. Children waved small flags, women ululated softly, and men removed their caps in respect. But Darin barely saw them. His eyes stared forward, empty, seeing nothing but the memory that haunted him. 2 weeks ago, he had been in his office abroad, laughing over coffee with colleagues, planning his next business move. Then his phone rang. His mother's broken voice came through, trembling and barely able to form words. "Your father, he is gone. Come home, my son. Come home now." Darin had dropped the phone. His hands shook. His father, the great King Adeyemi, the man whose laughter could fill a room and whose wisdom could settle wars, was dead. Just like that. No warning. No goodbye. Now, as the convoy stopped at the palace gates, Darin felt the weight of what awaited him. The palace compound was filled with mourners dressed in white. Drums beat slowly, mournfully, like the heartbeat of a dying giant. The air was thick with incense and grief. In the center of the courtyard stood his father's empty throne, draped in black cloth. Beside it rested the royal staff, the crown, and a pair of old leather sandals his father had worn every morning when he walked through the village greeting his people. Queen Morayo stood near the throne, her face hidden behind a white veil, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. When Darin approached, she reached for his hand and held it tightly during the rites. The elders chanted prayers. The chiefs poured libations. And Darin stood there, frozen, wishing he could run back to his quiet life abroad where crowns and thrones were just stories in books. That night, after everyone had gone, Darin walked alone into his father's chamber. He touched the staff, rough and warm under his palm. He lifted the crown, heavy and cold. He picked up the old sandals and remembered his father's voice. "A king, my son, does not rule from a throne. He serves from his knees. Power without love is just noise." Darin set the sandals down gently and sat on the floor, tears finally breaking free. He did not want this. He was not ready. On the other side of Awea, in a small compound with cracked walls and a leaking roof, a young woman named Afi stepped out into the early morning cold. She carried a dented metal bucket in one hand and a frayed rope in the other. Before she could take 3 steps, a harsh voice cut through the air like a whip. "If you bring back dirty water today, you will sleep outside with the goats again. Do you hear me?" It was her Aunt Ronk, standing in the doorway with arms folded across her chest, her face twisted in permanent irritation. Behind her, Eve's cousins Bisi and Tola giggled, their eyes mocking and cruel. "Yes, Aunt Ronki," Eve said quietly, lowering her head. "And hurry up," Tola added with a sneer. "We need that water to bathe before the king's people pass through. Unlike you, we have to look presentable." Ify said nothing. She simply turned and began the long walk toward the stream. As her bare feet touched the cold, dusty path, memories flickered through her mind like shadows. She remembered her father's face, kind and weathered, smiling as he carried her on his shoulders through the farm. She remembered his voice singing old songs while he planted yams. She had never known her mother. The woman had died giving birth to her. But her father had been enough. He was love, safety, and home. Then one day, when Eve was 12, he did not come back from the farm. Neighbors found him collapsed among the cassava plants, his heart finally too tired to beat. He had worked himself to death trying to give her a better life. Chief Gabolahan, her father's younger brother, came to the funeral with big words and bigger promises. "Do not worry, Ife. You are family. You will stay with us. We will take care of you." At first, it was true. But after the chief took control of her father's land, things changed. Kindness became coldness. Her bed became a mat on the kitchen floor. Her name became that girl, or the orphan. And the work never stopped. She woke before the sun and slept long after the stars appeared. She fetched water, washed clothes, scrubbed floors, cooked meals, and swept compounds. And when she was too slow or too tired, there were insults, slaps, and nights locked outside. But Eve had learned something her father taught her long ago. Bitterness is a poison you drink, hoping someone else will die. So she smiled. She greeted people warmly. She helped those who had even less than she did. The villagers loved her for it. They called her the girl with the gentle smile, and they wondered how someone so broken could still shine. That morning, as Ife walked toward the stream, she saw an old woman struggling with a bundle of firewood, bent nearly double under the weight. Eve set down her bucket and hurried over. "Mama, let me help you," she said softly. The old woman looked up, her eyes wet with gratitude. "Eve, my daughter, you have your own burdens. You do not need mine." "We all carry something, Mama. Let us carry together." Aoife lifted half the firewood onto her own head and walked the old woman to her door. When they arrived, the woman held Eve's face in her rough, trembling hands. "May your tears one day turn to laughter, my child. May the one who sees your heart lift you higher than you ever dreamed." Eve smiled, though she did not believe such things could happen to girls like her. She returned to her bucket and continued toward the stream, unaware that at that very moment, deep inside the palace, men in robes were deciding her future. The council chamber was full. Chiefs sat in a half-circle around King Darren, their faces serious and expectant. Smoke from burning herbs curled toward the ceiling. The head chief, an old man with a staff carved from Iroko wood, stood and spoke. "Your Majesty, the throne cannot remain empty. Your father is gone, and the kingdom needs a king. You must accept the crown." Darren looked around the room, feeling trapped. "I did not come back to be king. I came back to bury my father. I have a life abroad, a business, plans." Another chief leaned forward. "Plans change, my son. The kingdom does not wait for readiness. It demands obedience." Queen Marayo, seated beside Darren, placed her hand gently on his. "Some paths do not ask for permission, my son. They simply unfold beneath your feet. Your father knew this. Now you must know it too." Darren exhaled slowly, feeling the walls closing in. "Fine. I will take the throne. But do not ask me to marry for politics. I will not choose a wife like I am buying land." The head chief shook his head. "Your Majesty, tradition is clear. A king without a queen is a tree without roots. The people need stability. Other kingdoms need to see strength. You must marry, and you must marry soon." Darren stood abruptly, anger flashing in his eyes. "So I must wear a crown I do not want, and marry a woman I do not love, all because of tradition?" Queen Marayo rose beside him, her voice calm but firm. "You must wear the crown, because your people need you. But the woman you marry, my son, that choice can still be yours. Just do not wait too long. The chiefs will not be patient forever." The meeting ended in tense silence. As the chiefs filed out, one man lingered behind, his eyes gleaming with ambition. Chief Gabolahan smiled to himself, already scheming. If the king needed a wife, why not one of his daughters? Bisi was beautiful. Tola was clever. Either one would make him the father-in-law of a king, the second most powerful man in the kingdom. He rushed home, his mind spinning with plans. When he arrived, he clapped his hands loudly, calling his wife and daughters to the sitting room. "Listen to me carefully," he said, his voice low and urgent. "The king must marry soon. If one of you catches his eye, our family will rise higher than the clouds. Do you understand?" Bisi and Tola exchanged excited glances, already imagining themselves in royal robes. "But what about Aoife?" Ronke asked, frowning. "If the king visits and sees her looking like a dirty househelp, he will think we are poor and careless." Chief Gabolahan waved his hand dismissively. "Keep her in the background. Give her more work so she stays busy and out of sight. She is an embarrassment. Make sure she knows it." That evening, King Darren decided to visit some of the chief's homes, wanting to understand his people better before accepting the crown fully. His first stop was Chief Gabolahan's compound. When he arrived, the family was waiting under a large mango tree, arranged like a perfect portrait. The chief sat in the center, smiling broadly. Ronke sat beside him, her face soft and sweet. Bisi and Tola sat on a bench, dressed in bright, expensive wrappers, their faces painted with rehearsed gentleness. "Your Majesty, welcome, welcome," Chief Gabolahan said, bowing deeply. "Please sit. We are honored by your presence." Darren sat, but something felt wrong. The smiles were too wide, the laughter too quick. Bisi leaned close, offering him water with a giggle. Tola touched his arm lightly, asking about his time abroad with exaggerated interest. It all felt like a performance, and Darren hated it. Then, from the side of the compound, Aoife appeared, struggling with a heavy clay pot full of water. She walked carefully, her arms trembling under the weight. When she saw the king, she quickly set the pot down and knelt to greet him respectfully. "Good evening, Your Majesty." Before Darren could respond, Ronke's voice lashed out. "Aoife, what are you doing here? Move that pot and go inside. Now! You are embarrassing us." Chief Gabolahan added sharply, "Do you not see we have an important guest? Go." Aoife stood quickly, her head down, and reached for the pot. As she bent, a small leather bracelet on her wrist slipped slightly from under her sleeve. It was old, worn, and faded, but Darren's eyes caught the pattern etched into the leather. A royal pattern, the same design his father used on personal gifts of gratitude. His heart skipped. Where did she get that? But before he could ask, Aoife lifted the pot and hurried away, disappearing into the compound. Darren watched her go, noticing the sadness in her eyes, the faint scars on her hands, the way she moved like someone who had learned to make herself invisible. "Your Majesty?" Bisi's voice pulled him back. "Are you well?" Darren forced a smile. "Yes, just tired." He stayed only a few more minutes before excusing himself. As he drove away, he could not stop thinking about the girl with the gentle smile and the haunted eyes. Who was she? Why was she treated so harshly? And why did his heart ache when he thought of her? That night, Darren could not sleep. He lay in his father's chamber, staring at the ceiling, haunted by questions. Where would he find a woman who loved him, not the crown? A woman who saw his heart, not his title? He thought again of the orphan girl at Chief Gabolahan's house. Something about her would not leave him alone. Finally, he rose, dressed simply, and took one of the smaller cars out into the night. He drove without direction, just needing air, needing silence. Eventually, he found himself near the village stream. The moon was full, casting silver light on the water. And there, kneeling by the bank, was Aoife. She was not alone. A pregnant woman stood beside her, struggling with a bucket. Aoife was tying her own wrapper around the woman's load, securing it so she could carry it more easily. "Thank you, Aoife," the woman said, tears in her eyes. "You always help, even when you have nothing." "We all need help sometimes, sister," Eve replied gently. "Go carefully. God will carry you the rest of the way." Darren watched from a distance, something warm spreading through his chest. When the pregnant woman left, he stepped forward. Eve heard footsteps and turned quickly, eyes wide with fear. When she saw it was the king, she immediately dropped to her knees. "Your Majesty, please," Darren said, kneeling beside her so they were at the same level. "Do not kneel. I just want to talk." Eve's heart pounded. "I should not be here, Your Majesty. If my uncle finds out—" "He will not," Darren said firmly. "I only want to know your name." She hesitated, then whispered, "Eve." "Eve," he repeated softly, as if tasting the sound. "Why do you do all the work alone? Why do they treat you that way?" Eve looked down at her hands. "I am an orphan, Your Majesty. My father died when I was young. My uncle took me in. I must earn my place." "By being a slave?" She flinched but said nothing. Darren felt anger rise in him, but he kept his voice gentle. "You deserve better than this, Eve." Tears filled her eyes, but she blinked them back. "I am nobody, Your Majesty. I do not deserve anything." "You are wrong," he said quietly. "I have met chiefs' daughters tonight who smiled with their mouths but not their eyes. But you help people even when no one is watching. That is rare." They sat in silence for a moment, listening to the stream. Finally, Darren spoke again. "Can we meet here again? Tomorrow night? I would like to talk more." Eve looked terrified. "I do not know if I can, Your Majesty. If they find out, they will not," he promised. "Please, just talk. Nothing more." After a long pause, she nodded. Over the next several days they met by the stream or under an old baobab tree near an abandoned shrine. Slowly, carefully, they began to share pieces of themselves. Eve spoke of her father's gentle wisdom, of how he taught her to pray even when life was cruel. Darren spoke of the weight of expectations, of how he felt like a prisoner in his own palace. One evening, Eve showed him the leather bracelet more clearly. "My father gave this to me before he died," she said softly. "He told me it was a gift from a king long ago, given to our family because my grandfather once helped save his life. I do not know if it is true, but I keep it to remember that I come from people who did good things." Darren's heart stopped. He recognized the craftsmanship now, unmistakably his father's work. He said nothing yet, but the pieces were coming together. "Eve," he said one night, his voice thick with emotion, "I cannot stop thinking about you. You have given me something I thought I lost when my father died. Peace, joy, hope." Eve's eyes filled with tears. "Your Majesty, I am nobody. I have nothing. I cannot—" "You are not nobody," he said fiercely, taking her hands. "You are the kindest, bravest person I have ever met. And if I ever marry Eve, I want it to be someone like you. No, I want it to be you." F broke down, sobbing into her hands. "I feel the same, but I am so afraid. I do not belong in your world." Darren pulled her into a gentle, respectful hug, holding her as she cried. "You belong wherever your heart is honored," he whispered, "and I will honor yours." But love, as beautiful as it was, did not go unnoticed. The next evening, Tola had been sent to fetch something from the market. On her way back, she passed near the old baobab tree and saw two figures in the moonlight. She stopped, squinting. Her breath caught. It was the king. And he was holding Eve. Jealousy exploded in her chest like fire. She watched, hidden behind bushes, as they spoke softly and then parted. She ran home, her mind screaming with rage. "Mama, Bissi, come quickly!" Ronke and Bissi rushed out. "What is it?" "I saw them," Tola panted. "The king and Eve. They were together, hugging, talking like Like lovers. Ronka's face turned red with fury. That little witch. She is trying to steal what belongs to you. Bisi clenched her fists. We have to stop her. Chief Gabolahan, overhearing, came out slowly, his face dark. If the king chooses her, we lose everything. Our plan, our future. He looked at his wife. Lock her up. Tonight. And we will think of something permanent. That night, when Ife returned home, Ronki grabbed her by the arm and dragged her to a small storage room at the back of the compound. She shoved Ife inside and locked the door. Stay here and think about your place, you ungrateful snake, Ronka hissed through the door. If you ever speak of the king again, I will tell everyone you tried to seduce him. I will say you stole from us. Your life will be over. Eve sat in the darkness, her body shaking. Days passed. They gave her only scraps of food and little water. She grew weak. Through the thin walls, she heard them rehearsing their lies. She ran away. She stole a bracelet and disappeared. She was always a liar. But even in that dark room, Effie prayed, God, I do not understand why this is happening, but I will not hate them. Please give me strength. And if I am meant to die here, let me die with a clean heart. Meanwhile, King Darren went to the meeting spot and found no one. He went to Chief Gabolahan's house and was told Ife had run away with a traitor, ashamed of herself. He did not believe it. Something was very wrong. He went to his mother and told her everything, how he met Ife, how she restored his heart, how she was kind and wise and real. At first, Queen Marayo resisted. A poor orphan, Darren? The chiefs will revolt. People will mock us. But Darren's eyes were firm. I would rather be mocked for choosing love than praised for choosing a lie. The queen studied her son for a long moment. Then she sighed, tears in her eyes. If her heart is truly good, then it will show. Call the council. Announce your choice boldly. Let the wicked expose themselves. King Darren summoned every chief, their families, and many villagers to the palace courtyard for a great announcement. The air buzzed with excitement. Everyone assumed he would choose one of the chief's daughters. Darren stood before them, dressed in full royal attire, the crown on his head, the staff in his hand. His voice rang clear. I have decided who I will marry. Bisi and Tola sat up straight, hearts pounding. Chief Gabolahan smiled proudly. Her name, Darren continued, is Ife, the orphan who lives in the house of Chief Gabolahan. Silence. Then gasps. Then whispers like wildfire. Chief Gabolahan's face went pale. Bisi's mouth fell open. Tola's hands trembled. Before anyone could react, Bisi stood up, tears streaming down her face. Your Majesty, you have been deceived. Ife is a liar and a thief. She stole this bracelet from the palace. She held up the leather bracelet. She ran away in shame after seducing you with lies. Tola stood beside her. It is true, Your Majesty. She has always been wicked. She used you. Murmurs spread through the crowd. But Darren did not flinch. He walked forward slowly and took the bracelet from Bisi's hand. He held it up so everyone could see. This bracelet, he said loudly, was made by my father. He gave it to a farmer who once saved his life when he was still a young prince. That farmer's name was Adebayo, Ife's father. Shock rippled through the crowd. Chief Gabolahan stood frozen. So this bracelet, Darren continued, his voice like steel, belongs to her by right. It is proof of her father's honor. And if she is a thief, then explain why she is not here to defend herself. He turned to the guards. Go to Chief Gabolahan's house. Search everywhere. Bring Ife to me. Now. The guards left immediately. The crowd waited in tense silence. 20 minutes later they returned, their faces grim. One guard stepped forward. Your Majesty, We found her locked in a storage room. She is weak, starving, and has been crying for days. She kept asking God to forgive those who hurt her. The crowd erupted in outrage. People turned on Chief Gabolahan, shouting, cursing. Queen Marayo stood, her face filled with pain and conviction. "Bring her here," she commanded. When Eve was brought out, she could barely walk. Her clothes were torn, her face thin, her eyes red from crying. But when she saw the king, she tried to smile. Darren rushed to her, catching her before she fell. He held her gently, his own tears falling. "I am sorry," he whispered. "I am so sorry I did not find you sooner." Queen Marayo approached slowly. She knelt before Eve, and the crowd gasped. "Forgive me, my daughter," the queen said, her voice breaking. "I doubted you because of your clothes. I forgot that a good heart does not need gold to shine." The council acted swiftly. Chief Gabolahan was stripped of his title, his land, and his respect. The villagers who once feared him now turned their backs. His family's shame was complete. In the weeks that followed, Ife was brought into the palace and treated like the treasure she was. She was bathed, fed, clothed, and cared for. The queen herself oversaw her healing, and slowly, Eve began to believe she was safe. One evening, Darren took her to the palace garden. The sun was setting, painting the sky in gold and pink. He knelt before her, holding a ring. "Eve, you gave me back my heart, when I thought it was buried with my father. You taught me that love is not a transaction. It is a gift. Will you be my queen?" Ife cried, nodding over and over. "Yes, yes, I will." The wedding was a celebration the kingdom would never forget. Traditional drums echoed through the streets. Dancers filled the courtyards. And the girl who once carried water in a dented bucket now walked beside the king in robes of silk and gold, a crown on her head, and joy in her heart. When the ceremony ended and Darren was fully crowned king with Ife as his queen, the crowd roared with approval. Even those who had doubted now saw the truth. A good heart is worth more than 100 titles. Months later, Ronka, Bisi, and Tola came to the palace gates, broken and begging. Eve stood before them, no longer the frightened girl they had tormented. She listened to their pleas, remembering every slap, every insult, every cold night. Then she spoke. "I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I will not carry hate in my heart. Go, live differently, treat people with kindness. That is all I ask." They left weeping, knowing they had lost everything because of their cruelty. And so the kingdom learned a lesson it would never forget. Kindness is never wasted. Love cannot be bought. And the person you step on today may be the one you bow to tomorrow. Now, dear viewer, what did you learn from this story? If it touched your heart, like this video, subscribe to this channel, and comment below. I believe in true love. Let me know you watched until the very end, because just like Ife, your story is not over. Your crown is coming.